project management. Hardly would you lift up newspaper or listen to the news and you would hear about projects, an ongoing project, one project or the other. We all have our personal projects that we try to work on. So if we want to view projects, I see it as intervention. For businessmen, projects are a way to effectively drive change. If you want to make changes, and you want to make those changes in an effective way, you should apply project management to do it. In the early days of my exposure to project management, we were taught what we call the iron triangle. Project management has evolved from iron triangle to what we may refer to as agile. So the conversation will be more of agile approach to managing projects. So if I say agile, it will sound a bit, let's say agile is adaptation. Agile is being like water. Water would always find its level and find its way around situations. So if you are that fluid, if you are that flexible, then the agile approach is talking about flexibility, adaptation to situations. I will explain that in more detail. And to guide us through the conversation, I would like to take us on an interesting journey. And that journey is the build of an e-commerce website for an organization. Let's call it ABC Corporation. So ABC Corporation is interested in selling their products online through an e-commerce website. So in order to drive that change, they need to embark on a project. And in embarking on this project, we're going to apply the agile approach. So in applying the agile approach, we're going to look at the various aspects that will be involved in managing the project using the agile approach. The first thing that I need us to clarify and understand is that all projects are born out of an idea. So you have a pain point, you have a situation you want to address, you have an opportunity you want to explore, or you have a competitive edge you want to gain. Then you have an idea that you think can help you to achieve what you want to achieve. That is the birth of a project. But the biggest problems that you can have with projects is they may die at that idea stage. Someone said the best ideas in the world are where? In the cemetery. They've died with those that ideate them. And the concept is, when you have an idea, you want to first put it to a litmus test. What are those things that you should consider before you can say, this idea that is bubbling in my mind and is burning in my spirit, is this something that I should do? The first thing that we must put into consideration is that we do not exist in a vacuum. And when we say we do not exist in a vacuum, we exist in an environment. We impact the environment and we leverage on the environment to achieve our aims. That being said, the litmus test for the ideation stage of any project that we want to embark on is to test first the feasibility of that project. Is it possible? Is it doable? Do we have resources to achieve it? Do we have the skills and the knowledge to put it into fruition? Aside from feasibility, we should consider the viability of the project. Now, we'll be talking of ROI. That will be a bit technical, return on investment. But the real question is, this idea that I have, why am I doing it? You know, when we consider project justification, when we look at when we answer the question, why are we doing a project? We want to provide a valid justification, well, not just one, several justifications for embarking on a project. So when someone said school fees is a project, I absolutely agree, absolutely. And the beauty of that is, if you are providing justification for school fees, there may be several thoughts that will come to your mind. Some justifications will go in the direction of, I want to send my children to the best schools I can afford, so that I will give them the best leverage in life. Other justifications may be, I want this boy to go to school and become a doctor, so that when I grow old, is my retirement plan. Other justifications may come to place. But the more the justifications we have for embarking on a project, the higher the likelihood of the project success. Because along the process, along the line, if you stumble on issues that may come up, that will definitely come up, change is the only constant in life. Those justifications, when you review them, they would serve as, a momentum to keep you going. They would. So when you review why you started it in the first place, then you now say, okay, because of passage of time, some of my justifications are no longer valid. So it might be the basis for stopping the project in the first place. But as part of ideation, we should develop our why. And the stronger it is, the better it is for the success of the project. So moving from feasibility and viability, then we should consider acceptability. Acceptability in the sense that this idea that is burning in my mind, will it appeal to a lot of people? Someone told me in an interesting way, he said, if the only clients you have are your family and friends, you are not in business. They are only helping you out of, maybe family affiliation. So if it does not have general acceptability, it might be the basis for modification of that idea. Project success starts from the ideation stage. So once we have the idea is valid, it's tested, we're good to go. The concept of agile project management now is helping us to look at what are the project objectives that we want to achieve. When we have those project objectives stated, so objectives will stem from what is the pain point that we want to address. So we're in this state right now. What is the ideal state we're looking for? Then what will take us from this position we're in to that ideal state that we want to be, so that we can define, the deliverables, the project deliverables. So those project deliverables are those lofty things, those interesting things that we want to achieve at the end of the project. So when this whole project is finished, when ABC website is finished, people will be able to place orders on our website. People will be able to make payment on the website. People will be able to, assess what they want to do and all. So we now come to the agile mindset. I underline mindset and I put it in capital letters. The agile mindset is a way of thinking. Let me differentiate it from the traditional approach. The agile mindset is, I want to achieve A, B, C, D. But looking at things, it is best for me to start with C. So let me start with C and focus on C for now. Once I achieve what I need to achieve for C, I'll come back to review A, B, and D. Why is this approach better than the traditional approach. The traditional approach is I want to achieve ABCD. I'm creating a plan for ABCD. I'm working ABCD, strictly working ABCD. And I must strive to achieve, maybe in that sequence, A, then B, then C, then D. But life is constantly evolving. So let's get back to the drawing board for ABC website now. If I may ask, we own businesses. We might have been involved with website development before. Or even if you have not, let's just think about it. So in designing that website, we don't want to lump everything together. So the traditional approach, like I mentioned earlier, would consider A, B, C, D in that sequence. Because D is dependent on A. If you are building, if you are doing a building construction, the foundation that you have to put must factor in the superstructure that will be on it. If you cannot picture, if you don't have a full idea of what the superstructure is going to be, you can't do the foundation. So you can't start the foundation without determining what is going to be on it, because you have to consider the load and every other thing. That's the traditional approach. But in this fluid approach, in this agile approach, we're saying, let us consider what is most valuable to start with. We have an endeavor. We want to build a website, an e-commerce website. So what would you consider to be most valuable to start with? Now, the idea of value is at the end of each phase that we're going to break this website development into, we're going to have deliverables that we can showcase. So these deliverables are vital. It's a measure of progress. It helps us to see that we're not where we used to be when we started out. So collectively, let us brainstorm on what we can consider to be the most valuable item for a website that we want to work on, or ideas that you think should be in that website. Then we can now, from that, filter out what will be most valuable, and then we can proceed. The idea is for us to help ABC Corporation develop an e-commerce website. And in developing this e-commerce website, we're looking at the deliverables, the items that we are going to showcase, or what we're going to get at the end of the job that we're going to do. So it varies. Obviously, we'll have landing page. That's one. Then we have product page. Definitely, we'll have a domain name and hosting. Then there may be other things that will come up as we, make progress. Payment gateway. So here is the idea. This is the concept. At this time, we do not need to bother with payment gateway because we know it's going to come up later. But what is most critical to start with? That's what we should focus on at this time. That's what we're going to build a plan on and achieve. When we make that achievement, we now review what we have done. Then we can move on to the next thing that we need to work on. If you agree with me, the domain name registration and hosting should be our immediate focus. This is how we need to break down the projects that we want to work on and focus on what would add the highest business value initially. Working on that and having that sorted would showcase that, yes, we are making some form of progress. So we work with a domain name registration, and then you come up with a name, a fancy name. You check it, it's already taken, not available. Then we modify, we work, then we achieve an interesting name. So we have a name. On that domain name, after registration, you can actually put it on your browser and you will see maybe work in progress and all of that. So we have an achievement. What we will do at that point is to review. Getting to this point, when we started out, we felt that ABC Corporation is an interesting name that we'll just register. So we now see ABC Corporation is registered, ABC Limited is registered. So that brings up a whole lot of issues that we now have to review. And that review will help us with the next stage. So we're doing e-commerce, and there's already an existing business name that is related to what we want to do. Are they in the same business line? Will it give us problems as we make progress? That might be a point where we're going to now modify what we want to do next. So that is the beauty of the agile approach. The agile approach does not take end-to-end at the beginning, but it will consider what is important right now. Let us work on it. And when we work on it, whatever we achieve will give us insight into what the next phase or the next stage should be. So let's continue the interesting journey of agile knowledge. And having concluded on domain name registration, we now create the landing page where we're going to showcase the faces behind the organization. So we create profiles, we have the landing page, and then on creating the landing page, general information about the organization, what we want to achieve and all of that, we put it up. So the landing page is done. Beautiful. We do a review, and the review will showcase the plan that we had for landing page creation. Did we meet up? Why didn't we meet up? Oh, profile changed. Then we were expecting some people to respond, they did not respond. If they are going to make input into the subsequent phases of the work that we want to do, how do we make sure that we get timely information from them? We're going to factor all of that into the subsequent work. Another advantage of using agile approach is that it's going to leverage on previous information to modify for the next phase or stage so that we get it right. We get things better. So it's a form of continuous improvement approach. Then we move to product page creation. So we create pages for our products. And when we create pages for products, we put pictures, we put product description, and then we put prices. And then at that point, we just assume that once we have the website, the products will sell. Then we now come to the realization that products don't just sell themselves. Like when you open shop and you expect that people just come into the shop and buy from you. It's an interesting assumption. People can stumble into your shop, but you need to attract. So we now look at what are those things you can do to attract. We now do campaign. At the beginning of the project, did we consider campaign?
No.
But as we're making progress, we get to the point where we now see that there needs to be modification in order for us to achieve what we need to achieve. The agile mindset and the flexibility involved in it helps us to leverage on the information that comes as we make progress to improve on the solution we are developing, so that at the point of final deployment, the solution will be relevant to the environment at which it is being deployed. Let me explain that better. So at the beginning, we want to just create an e-commerce website. So we've listed the things that we want to do. Oh, domain name registration, landing page, product page, payment gateway. Then, so we did not factor in campaign, right? So campaign has come up. Now, because of campaign now, there is awareness for the website that is under development. We have done massive campaign, and there is awareness. How many of us recall that recently? Bet Naija website was hacked. So due to this awareness that has gone around, so there's this notion from hackers that if these people can invest in this level of awareness, they must have money to pay. They hack the website and lock it down. So that brings us to what? Another issue that we have to deal with. Security. That we did not factor in at the beginning. Then we now have to think of how do we embed security. So the beauty of Agile approach again is that as it evolves, we meet new things that we need to factor into the project. And when we factor it in, it guarantees that the solution that we'll end up with will be most relevant at the point of handover. So we work on security, we factored in security, we work on security, we create SSL certificates that would guarantee that, the website will not be hacked and all. Then we make additional progress. Now, these products, despite awareness, they are not moving the way we expect them to move. So what do we need? Maybe if buyers, users that have experienced the product, if they can leave, comments, if they can leave maybe star remarks, reviews, it will prompt others to say, maybe share their experience. It will prompt others to believe in the product because there are so many fakes out there in the cyberspace. So we now say, instead of just having product information and price, let us have buyer reviews that will be added to this. Additional update is coming up. Then we work it. That will be the next phase of work for us. Then we work that aspect, and then we have reviews, and then reviews are added, and then it becomes more interesting. Word of mouth is spreading. We have social media links and all of those things, and then it's becoming more interesting, and then we are achieving the purpose that we have set out to achieve, even much more than we set out in the first place. Then we can now say, okay, this is great. But this project now seems endless. It seems like it will go on forever. But this is where it gets really interesting. The Agile approach is open to modification at every point in time. At every point in time, it's open to modification. Because we realize that the situation that we started with might not be the exact same situation that we have found ourselves as we make progress. Take, for instance, we started this maybe sometime in 2019, and then things are just going good. Then COVID came. Awesome opportunity. People are on lockdown, you can't go out. But if they buy online, you have an arrangement with delivery. They can do that delivery, and then people get products and they're happy. And then you are making money while everybody is on lockdown. And that is an opportunity that you can create additional leverage for. So the idea is that we should never have things on lockdown. We should be open to leveraging on opportunities, managing risk, and factoring in changes that can come from any perspective. With that being said, I hope that I've been able to, in a little way, introduce the idea of agility as a way of thinking for us to apply to our businesses. Instead of looking at problems in its totality, let us look at it from the perspective of what is most critical at this time. Let me sort that out. In the process of sorting that out, we now have more information that we can use to solve the next phase of the problem that we are trying to solve, and solve the next phase of the problem. And for every additional input that is coming from the environment, from government regulation, from political structure, and other factors, we're able to embrace it because we are open to embracing those things. Because at the back of our minds, we know that, yes, this is the solution we are working on, but we are willing to adapt to changes as they come. But the fact remains that while this is going on, we must be centered at our core. We must be focused on what we have set out to achieve, so that those changes will not entirely derail us. When those changes occur, we adapt it to suit that core purpose that we have set out to achieve, and then we move on, and we move, and we move.
So if you do, for instance, a promotion, maybe price slash, or some interesting package, and it goes out to them, they may likely, if they are not in a position to buy and they have anybody around them who might be interested, they may make that referral, and that would work more effectively. But it takes a lot to build a database